Hey there, cats and kitties. I am the Blues Man, Johnny Blues, and with this video, I'll be discussing my thoughts on Series 9, Episode 9 of Doctor Who, Sleep No More. Holy crap, man. This was a properly scary as all hell episode, for me at least. It had me on edge. It had me on the edge of my seat. And I mean, these creatures, these monsters were just properly all out terrifying to me. You had shades of like the Alien franchise in this. You had like, the found footage idea, and people hear found footage, and, even myself, it's one of those things kind of like overstayed its welcome in entertainment, in the entertainment medium. And people, there's really no way to do it uniquely anymore, or at least in the majority. And I feel like this episode completely flipped that genre, if you will, that trope, whatever you want to call it, on its ear. I feel like they completely had a unique spin, making the viewer part of the events of this episode. Of course, yes, in an extension, you're not actually physically there, you're not interacting with the characters, but many times do you feel like you are. And the whole concept by the end, let me go ahead and get it out of the way right away, say, spoiler warning if you haven't seen the episode. I'm not going to go fully in depth, but I'm going to be touching upon certain aspects of the story that would be better, more well-fitted if you've already seen it. Go watch it, come back, that kind of thing. But moving on, I mean, the concept of these creatures being born from within, the human body, the eye crusties, that whole aspect, and, seeing through the eyes of others. It had sort of shades of one of the episodes of Ghost in the Shell Standalone Complex, an anime series that's one of my all-time favorites. And the idea of, there are no cameras. We're seeing through the eyes of the characters, and that gives it a very much personal, sort of ambiance. You feel like you are part of this whole story that's unfolding. The Doctor's looking at you when he's looking at a character, and you're seeing through their eyes. And the idea of expounding out of that, the dust. I mean, anyone who has to go dusting around their apartment, their flat, their house, whatever it is, the concept that dust is in the air for all time, 24/7. Give that dust eyes. Give it sentience, and it's watching you, and it's planning, and it's plotting, and all this kind of stuff. Goosebumps inducing was this episode for me. It was crazy. The added aspect of like the grunt and how these people are grown, commenting on science, and, where does that boundary, where does that edge finally fall out from under us, where we've gone too far, and that kind of thing. And very much the experiment with this, this sort of sleep-based idea of, I'm somebody myself. With all the anime episodes I cover, videos I make every week, I'm constantly saying there isn't enough time in a day. There aren't enough hours in a day. Would I actually submit to a thing like this where I could have like a 5-minute power nap and I wouldn't have to sleep for a month? I wouldn't say it wouldn't be tempting, but at the end of the day, even without watching this episode and seeing what the consequences are. And as somebody who's a classic Whovian, I really felt like the sort of big bad in this episode, Rasmussen, or the persona of Rasmussen, really called back to me the scientist from The Two Doctors, a classic Colin Baker story where you saw Patrick Troughton, the second Doctor, guest starring Dastari, if you're familiar with that particular story, because of the glasses Rasmussen is wearing and just what he's doing, the crazy stuff he's up to, the fact that he is a scientist. And all in all, it was just a goosebumps-inducing episode. It was a properly freaky episode. And it leaves off in such a way that, like, I was actually surprised when you see the preview for the next week's episode, because it felt like a cliffhanger. It felt like this ended abruptly and we were going to pick up with a second half, much as has been the case with all the episodes thus far in Series 9. And it took me a few minutes to kind of see what they were actually doing there. They were leaving it off, because you're watching the episode. You're watching this story that this persona of Rasmussen has, concocted with all the players involved to get you enraptured and sucked into it. You're watching an episode of Doctor Who, but that episode is actually the video Rasmussen, this persona, an extension of these Sandmen creatures who are now sentient and taking command of the entirety of their existence, as well as trying to go to, Neptune, Earth, whatever it is, in this futuristic society and just consume all. That's all a product of Rasmussen. This whole episode was Rasmussen's doing. I freaking loved that. And you leave off with what feels like a cliffhanger because it's open-ended. You know, the Dr. Clara and one of the soldiers, you know, they make off in the end just barely, and anything can happen. You can revisit these creatures anywhere along the timeline after this point. So it was absolutely captivating to me, that idea that no, they're not going to continue it on in the next episode. What are the ramifications going to be, though? Because Clara was tapped by this. You know, we were seeing through her eyes. There was interaction there. So I'm wondering if this is yet another occurrence of there being foreshadowing to her inevitable end, whether that's death, whether, you know, however she leaves the TARDIS, as we know Jenna Coleman has done so officially. It's going to be very intriguing to see where along the path that's going to be. There were times through this episode I thought this was going to be it. You know, they kept it completely under wraps. We weren't going to see it coming, and it was going to be a shock and awe surprise that this was the episode it happened in. I'm happy to say it wasn't. I'm happy to see it wasn't. You know, I want to see Jenna actually, you know, make it to the end of the series if possible. But, yeah, I mean, and the one thing I was left over with by the end is this, like, Client Zero, the first test subject, had been, you know, in this sleep inducing machine, whatever you want to call it, for 5 years or whatever it is. I think this was Rasmussen. I think the genuine Rasmussen, the origin Rasmussen, was who that first patient, if you will, was. I kind of feel like that's what they were implying when we finally see that reveal in the end. Which, like, if the creatures didn't freak you out, if everything that was happening in the episode didn't already just get under your skin and get grating and get properly scary, when his face starts falling apart and you realize this was all his concoction, the Doctor and Clara just walked into a fiction that these creatures, using the guise, the persona of Rasmussen, you know, to create. And they became part of those events. And at the command of it all is one of the Sandmen itself, using that guise. It was mind-blowing. It was just like, holy crap. And when you see that face falling apart, it's just, oh, shades calling back to me of, you know, the first Indiana Jones movie, Raiders of the Lost Ark, when the Ark finally sort of explodes and you see, like, the Nazis, the villains of the film, their faces are melting. It was something like that, you know, really unnerving. And leaving it with that, what felt, again, like a cliffhanger ending. It's open-ended. It's still happening. You watch the episode. You're going to share that episode around. And these creatures are going to go on existing. They become perpetual because you're a Whovian and you watched the episode. Man. I absolutely frickin' loved that. And much as I was talking about in my last episode discussion video, I showed off at the tail end of that particular video the 5.5 Clara Oswald figure that I had gotten my hands on, and I had mentioned the fact that the 12th Doctor figure was on the way finally, something I was really excited to get my hands on. And there are actually 4 of them that they have thus far put out, character options or whatever it is. There was the first one, which was the Doctor in his white shirt, just a plain white shirt. There was no sort of, you know, vest underneath like you see, you know, in Doctor Who. All of these being taken out of Series 8, by the way. Specific episodes in Series 8. You had a figure where he was wearing a black shirt with gigantic white sort of polka dots. You had one where he was wearing a purple shirt, which was the sort of Robin Hood-esque episode, the title of which escapes me. And there was actually a 4th figure they put out, and it's the 4th one I decided to get for myself, taken from the episode Time Heist, where he's actually wearing sort of a very dark navy shirt, but for all intents and purposes it looks black. And so it's the 12th Doctor in black shirt and just looking all kinds of frickin' awesome. Absolutely love it. Complete with little Sonic and everything, and I just love the look of this, you know, this particular style for the figure, you know, as opposed to the other ones. So, yeah, I can't wait to see the next episode. We see Rigsy is returning. It took me a minute to, you know, remember who exactly he was, but he was from the episode, I think it's Flatline from Series 8, and I'm almost wondering, could he be a replacement companion, in the wake of Clara, or is it just going to be a one-off episode that he's involved in? But bring it on. I can't wait to see where the TARDIS travels next. And this is just, this series is just proving to be one of the best in the modern incarnation of Doctor Who, at least as far as I am concerned. Love to hear from you guys in the comments below, my fellow Whovians, what you thought of this particular episode, Sleep No More, if you felt as resounding as I did, if it left you kind of wanting by the end and like dumbstruck as I was for the first 5 minutes afterwards, not realizing that this wasn't going to be a cliffhanger and there was a part 2 coming. And if you had any sort of unanswered questions. I think I covered everything as I understood it in this video. Hope that helped you along if you did have any questions lingering. But if not, let me know in the comments below what you thought of this episode, as I say. And yeah, hope this video finds you well. That'll be pretty much it for me on this, and I'll catch you all later. Peace.